So hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I am the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. You are attending our virtual career speaker series today, and this program is open to junior achievement students across New Mexico, and we highlight business professionals and entrepreneurs and innovative thinkers from a variety of industries. And each one of our speakers are going to share details about their education, their job, and their career journey. During the presentation, we're going to have all of our mics muted, and then we'll give Andres some time to tell us his story. And then afterwards, you'll have some time to either type into the chat box or be very brave and unmute and ask a question live to Andres during that portion. But for first things first, this is recording, so we will make sure to post that onto our YouTube channel for anyone who wasn't able to attend today's session. So today we are so excited to welcome Andres Garcia, Executive Vice President and Head of Commercial Banking for New Mexico Bank and Trust. I'm going to share my screen, Andres, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, everybody, for joining today. I really appreciate your time. So I'm going to go ahead and get kicked off once we get the kind of the presentation up. So as Lindsay said, I work with New Mexico Bank and Trust as their head of commercial banking. And what that really means is I get to oversee really all aspects of the bank's relationships with our business clients across New Mexico. So Lindsay, if we can just go ahead and go to the next slide, I'll get it going. So I started my banking career in 2006 at Bank of America. And I started my career on the treasury side of banking, which was really related to helping our clients maximize how quickly they got paid. And so at that time, or around that time, I met my mentor, Rick Wadley. And Rick was really one of the best leaders and bankers that really I've ever had the pleasure of being around. And so having built a great relationship with him in 2013, I made the move and followed him to Bank of the West, another bank here in the state of New Mexico. And I made that move mainly because of the opportunity. It allowed me to become a relationship manager, which is really the quarterback and the central kind of point of contact for our client relationships within the bank. But the other thing that decision to move afforded me was the opportunity to grow educationally. It allowed me to attend something we call credit college in the banking industry. And that's a very specific training program that helps you assess the credit quality of our clientele. And then that also led to the ability to manage very large relationships, many of them that I still have the pleasure of maintaining today. And over my 10 years of working with Rick and alongside Rick, I learned many things, but the most important was the importance of our people and teamwork. And that, Rick would always remind me and still reminds me to this day how paramount our team is, and that not one person can do it all alone. And so that's something that I carry with me every day. And so earlier this year, in about May of 2021, I decided to part ways with Bank of the West and join New Mexico Bank and Trust. And you see the press release there on the screen. And I made that decision really for two reasons. One, again, it was a great opportunity for me to grow and continue my leadership journey. But most importantly to me, it allowed me to continue my career in New Mexico and really ensure that I would have the ability to decide whether or not I wanted to take my career outside of the state. And so the other thing that did is my mentor, Rick, along with my current manager, Greg Leindecker, our CEO, have both spent their entire career serving New Mexico and its clientele. And as I mentioned, that's something that's very, very important to me and something that I hope I can follow in both of their footsteps. So there's a little background on kind of my banking life and what I'm doing today. So if Lindsay, we could jump that page. I'd like to give everybody a little overview, just real briefly, of New Mexico Bank and Trust. And we're owned by a holding company called Heartland Financial. We are a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ stock exchange. Our ticker symbol is HTLF. We were founded in the early 80s. We currently manage about $19 billion in assets and serve in 98 communities with 11 independent banks, New Mexico Bank and Trust being one of them. And you can see there on the map all the areas that our company serves. And so here's a good snapshot of New Mexico Bank and Trust in our footprint. So we have 24 banking centers, 144 employees, and we manage, of that $20 billion or so that you guys saw on the last slide, New Mexico Bank and Trust manages about 2.3 billion, or a little over 13% of that total. So there's a purview, and you can see we're really spread across New Mexico, but highly related to northern New Mexico and northeastern New Mexico. Next slide, Lindsay, please. And another real positive reason of why I joined the bank is we have a really core belief in our community. And Lindsay didn't mention, but I've been a member of the Junior Achievement Board dating back to 2012. I've served as their treasurer and currently sit on a number of committees, one of them being the executive committee, and something near and dear to my heart and important to me for the organizations that I've worked for is the ability to give back to our community, not only in supporting our business community, but also supporting nonprofits like Junior Achievement and other ones. And so you can see there, we donate a lot of our time, our employees' time, and also a lot of our dollars to ensure that our communities are getting the resources they need. And the best part about my job, right, is working with our people. And at New Mexico Bank and Trust, we have great people. With one goal in mind. We're all a part of something bigger. Our goal is, to take care of our clients and to have a positive impact on our community. It's a very easy mission when you break it down that simply. And so that's a picture of our commercial banking team here in Albuquerque. We have teams in Santa Fe, in Clovis, in Clayton, New Mexico, and in a roundabout way, some form or fashion, they all kind of roll up to me, and we support the business community in best that we can. And so there's a little purview of kind of our bank and what I do there. And I'd like to spend some time now giving you guys a little insight into how I got here. And it all started with the term that my grandma told me, which was, never say you can't. And, as a little boy, I was small, and, whether it was climbing a tree or, as you see in the picture there, trying to make a putt with my grandfather, I'd cry and I'd whine and I'd say I can't. And so for my 11th birthday, she gave me this card here that you guys see. And I'm going to read you all the quote. And it says, progress involves risk. You can't steal second base and keep your foot on first. And that was said by Frederick Wilcox. And in addition to that, she would always tell me, never say you can't. She'd almost get mad at me, right, for saying, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, whether it was a spelling test or, again, climbing a tree. It didn't matter, right? I would whine, and she would always push me forward and say, yes, you can, and never let me quit. And so that's something that resonated with me, and something I think of every day. It's something I tell my team. It's something I tell my children. And so it's something I hope that you guys hold near and dear and take away from this. So with that, never saying I can't, that really led to a love of teamwork and leadership. And I was able to find that through athletics. There's some photos of me and as a young kid, I wore funny glasses and was really small, and I got bullied a little bit here and there, and being a part of a team gave me some insulation from that, right? I had my group of friends that I grew up with. I attended Governor Bent Elementary School, and then attended Cleveland Middle School, and ultimately graduated from Del Norte High School. And in all that time, my dad was very involved, and he pushed me to do whatever if they could afford it and they were willing to get me there on time, I would do it. Didn't matter, right? And so where I learned early on that individual sports weren't really for me is, around 10, 12 years old, I got into wrestling, and that's a very individualized endeavor. And I learned very early on that wasn't for me. I enjoyed being a part of something bigger, like a baseball team or a basketball team, where I had friends that were trying to achieve the same goal that I was, and I love to compete. And so that love of competition and teamwork and leadership, it continued throughout my childhood. And Lindsay, if we could go to the next slide. And as I got into high school, I played 3 sports year round. It kept me very busy, and it really just kept me involved in the things that I needed to do to keep my grades at a level that allowed me to play. Right, kept me eligible. But one day, and it was the summer between, or the spring between my sophomore and junior year of high school, my my football coach, and he's pictured right there. His name was Ed Lucero. After a practice one day, he sat me down in the weight room, and he used to always have the song "Eye of the Tiger" playing. And for those of you who maybe have seen Rocky, right, he goes, "Eye of the tiger, and I'm willing." Okay, so he'd always play that song. It was almost a joke for myself and my friends. And he turned off the song and he sat me down and he kind of looked me in the eye and said, "Andres, what do you want to do?" And I was 15 years old or something like that. I didn't know, right? I had never thought about what I wanted to do after high school. I was pretty content, playing my 3 sports. I had my friends. That was my world. And I was frozen. Or better yet, I was staring into the eye of a tiger, right? I didn't know what to say to him. So he pressed me. "Well, do you want to play college football? What's your goal from all this? What are you doing?" And, I sat there and I pondered, and almost afraid of my response, I said, "Yeah, I want to play college football." And that was the first goal I ever really set. And I say that because, I probably had other goals in life. Like my mom was telling me last night as I was preparing for this, when I was really little, I wanted to be a dentist. And looking back, like that's so not what I wanted to do, but I didn't know any better, right? And so that wasn't really a realistic goal. It was just something I'd probably heard one of my other friends say, or maybe one of my friends' dads was a dentist. I had a mom, I don't know. But, this was the first goal I really ever made. And I'm so thankful to Coach Lucero, because not only did he help me map out that first goal, but he also gave me the roadmap of what I needed to do to achieve the goal, right? And that started with my GPA, right? Being prepared to take the SAT or the SAT or some of the tests that I had to pass to get into school and be able to receive a college scholarship, right? And so that set the groundwork for so many things in my life, right? He held me accountable. He taught me how to lead, all because I set one goal, right? And it was a goal that was achievable. It wasn't unrealistic, right? I didn't say, I wanted to play in the NFL or I wanted to play at the University of Alabama. It was a wide-ranging goal that was attainable, playing a college sport, right? It didn't matter where, didn't matter if I got a scholarship, but that was a goal that I wanted to achieve. And I still remember coming home after having that conversation and telling my parents and my mom, and I was a little skinny kid, right? My mom probably rolled her eyes and thought in the back of her mind, "Yeah, right, you're going to play college football? You got to be kidding." And my dad, he was always highly involved in my athletics. I think he was just happy to hear me say the word college, right? And like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to go to college? Great. That's a wonderful goal, son. Figure it out," right? And so, occasionally I'll watch Rocky with my children, or I hear Eye of the Tiger, and I think of Coach Lucero. And I'll see him, around town, and I always remember to thank him for helping me make that first goal. So when you get those opportunities, guys, take advantage of them. And so that brings me to my next slide. So success is contagious, right? And thankfully, I achieved my goal, and I accepted a scholarship with the guidance of my coach and also my father and my mom to attend New Mexico Highlands University and play football. New Mexico Highlands University is a small school in Las Vegas, New Mexico, about 2 hours north of Albuquerque. And it was a great fit for me. Not only did it allow me to continue to play football and continue to grow as a teammate and as a leader, But it got me on the field very quickly. It was a small school, so I played a lot of football, and that allowed me to be selected as a two-time captain and further develop my leadership skills and trying to get the most out of a team of guys that came from all around the country, right? I played with people from California, from Florida, from Texas, Colorado, it didn't matter. And all those people from different places, we all came there to that school with one goal in mind, and that was to win football games, get a degree, and better our lives of ourselves and our family. And, the other really positive that I took from attending New Mexico Highlands University is, again, it was a small school. So because of that size, it allowed me to get very involved in other things outside of just playing football. And you'll see some pictures there in the middle. I got involved in student government, and I served as a student senator for 2 years and ultimately was elected as treasurer. Probably one of the most important things in my life, because it gave me purview into budgeting and banking and maintaining relationships with people that I would have never had the opportunity to do because I was so focused on athletics for a large majority of my life. And that really expanded that bubble for me, if you will. And really led to my first job in banking. I worked for what was then the Bank of Las Vegas the summer between my junior and senior year, all because I met them because I was the treasurer of our student government. And so, and then really most importantly, during my 4.5 years at New Mexico Highlands, I was also able to meet my wife, Paula. And so, you may have a goal of attending this grand university, and that's a great goal, but don't be afraid to take a chance at something that maybe not all your friends are thinking about, or isn't really on the radar, you don't see on TV, right? Many of you have probably never heard of New Mexico Highlands University, but you can still obtain a great education and grow personally and ultimately professionally down the road. And so if we can move on, where that took me was it gave me a lot of lifelong lessons. And so whether it's, helping my, athletics was definitely a conduit for my upbringing and ultimately my career path. But it was really the values and the discipline I learned along the way, right? That continue to serve me today. Whether it's helping my wife lead our family of 5, you see us there, coaching my children in youth sports, helping my kindergartner son, learn how to wear a mask and go to school in this COVID environment, or helping my team here at the bank. Lindsay and I were talking before this call about how much the world has changed with COVID, right? I mean, you see her there in a mask, and we've had to learn how to manage through, trials and tribulation and things that are so outside of our control. And it all comes back to that can't do attitude. And you see the picture there on the right. That's my middle daughter, Sophia. In 2015, Sophia was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And it was really, really hard because you don't know what's going to happen. And if it wasn't for that can-do attitude and knowing that I'm part of something bigger, right, my family, right, we're going to get through this, right, we would have never been here today. And Sophia, she's a fighter, and we're very thankful for her. But it all comes back to, always remember to say you can, because you can, right? Things are hard. You're going to have spelling tests that are hard, big words, right? Silent words and hard algebra, things of that nature. It's a challenge. But it's a challenge to get you better. And so always remember you can't. And if we can go to the next slide, Lindsay, I'll leave you guys with this, right? 2 things that I try to tell my children, my team, everyone I come into contact with. Set realistic goals and stay the course, right? Don't quit. It's hard, but don't quit, right? Achieve your goals. And do that by always remembering that you can, because I promise you guys you can. You can do great, great things. And so with that, Lindsay, I'm all done, and I'd love to hear some questions from the group if we have any. And there's not a bad question, guys. So I'll fill them all.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. You were getting some claps from the classroom in there. Does anyone want to be a brave soul and start us out with a question from Miss Townsend's class? Otherwise, I can start us off with one of the ones we have from the registration.
Sure, we can go if you want. Get up here where you can see. You can pull your mask down so he can see your mouth move. Makes it easier to hear. All the way over here.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
I didn't catch that. Sorry, Lindsay, did you? What was the name of?
Your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel.
YouTube channel?
JA's
Wow,
YouTube
great question. I personally don't have a YouTube channel, and I don't think that the bank does either. But that's a great question, and that may be something that we should think about from a marketing strategy, is getting a YouTube channel. So I'm going to write that one down, because that's not one I've thought of. Good one.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Mina has a question.
Perfect. Coming up.
She's just trying to get in front of the camera.
Great.
How many schools have you been doing this for?
Great question. So I've had the pleasure of delivering curriculum in the classroom for junior achievement probably about a handful of times, but doing this presentation, this is the first time I've done it. So, one thing I'll say is, talking in front of people can be nerve-wracking, and so this is good practice for stuff that I have to do every day in my job, right? I talk to a lot of people, but this is the first time I've presented to a class for this series. Good question.
Thank you.
Do you have a question? I have another one if you guys don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Udom, let's go.
All right, Gage. All right, in front of your, take your mask down so you can speak loudly.
What year did you start football?
Good question. And this is something I almost touched on in this. So you saw the pictures with me playing basketball and baseball and things like that, wrestling. But I was so small, and I also had asthma. So my mom was very, very concerned about me playing football at a young age. And I didn't actually start playing football until I got to the 9th grade. And my parents didn't even know I went out for the team until I made it, because I was so afraid of them telling me no, I couldn't, because I was a pretty small kid. I was a very skinny kid at that time. And but yeah, so good question. I didn't start playing until I got to high school at Del Norte.
Okay. Thank you.
What year did you create the company? What year did you start the company?
Okay, so I didn't start New Mexico Bank and Trust. I joined this bank in May of 2021. But that being said, my manager, Greg Leindecker, our CEO, started this bank in 1996, and he's been our only CEO. So we're still a pretty infant company when you really look at how long banks, right, have been a part of the fabric of our economy. But yeah, so I've only been here about about 7 months, but I've been in banking since 2006.
Can you help us understand, Mr. Garcia, what is a CEO? What are the positions you're speaking of?
Great question. So I'll kind of go through kind of our leadership. So our CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer. So at the end of the day, everything we do really falls on Mr. Leindecker's desk, right? He's our ultimate leader. And then from there, you have someone in like my role, right? The head of commercial. And underneath me, I have some department heads that head up like business banking, right? I have some department heads that focus on commercial banking. I have department heads that focus on treasury management. And that's like, when your parents get their paychecks, right? That's our treasury group that's helping those companies cut those checks. And like our commercial and business banking groups, they help, fund loans and making sure that, the companies that we support have vehicles, like construction companies, to go out and, do the work that they need to do. So, and then on the other side of the bank, we have the kind of the business side. Then we have like the retail side. And that's probably what you guys see as you're, going around town, driving around with your parents. You'll see what we call bank branches, right? And that's where you can go in and, cash your checks, get cash, pay your bills, things of that nature. So there's a lot of moving parts in a bank. And then, behind the scenes, there's even more. You have, marketing and someone asked about the YouTube channel. So I'm going to call Shauna Shannon, my marketing director, after this and talk about, we should probably consider getting a YouTube channel. And then we have, compliance, and compliance kind of is like the law and order of the bank, right? They make sure that we're doing things the right way and being fair to our clients, no matter where they live, whether they live in Clayton, New Mexico, or Albuquerque or Santa Fe. We got to treat them all the same. And so there's a lot of moving parts in a bank. But great question, Ms. Townsend.
Thank you. James?
If you could change one thing in your career life, what would you change?
Great question. If you ask my wife, she'd probably say, I wish I would have went and become a fishing guide. But what I would say, and I don't know who asked that question, and it's a great one, is, early on in my career, I was very hard on myself when I'd make a mistake, right? And I'll tell you guys an example. So when I first became a relationship manager and I was responsible for managing a portfolio, I got a little bit over my skis, right? And I did what's called a commitment letter a little prematurely, so a little too soon, and got me in a little trouble. And I wore that on my shoulders for a long time. And it was a mistake. And it was a mistake that thankfully my mentor, Rick Wadley, was able to fix, but it weighed on me a long time. And so you asked me what I would have done differently. I would be a little more receptive to making mistakes and knowing that a lot of times you can correct them with just a simple "I'm sorry" and I won't do it again, right? And learn from them. And so great question, but it would be, being a little easier on myself and knowing that mistakes are going to happen, and the goal is to just, learn from them and not let it happen again. Good question.
Excellent.
So I have to ask, what are your guys' marketing strategies?
Good question. So right now, we do a lot of digital marketing, right? So we have a website and we get a lot of traffic to that website. And, we get the emails of all our clients and prospects, right? So a prospect is someone that we want to make our client one day, right? So we send out a lot of emails. We do a lot of, right now, we used to do a lot of this in person, but we do a lot of stuff like this, right? We hold, fraud seminars and teach our clients about, what's happening in the marketplace and how can they protect their money. Or we'll do, credit presentations around, the economy and the rate environment. Right now rates are really, really low. So if you're borrowing money, it's really inexpensive to borrow money. So we talk about strategies, in our marketing campaigns, on how to alert our clients of the best way to borrow. So we do a lot of digital marketing. But that's such a great question. But I got to tell you, banking, and the reason I love banking a lot around the same reasons why I love being a part of a team, right? It's an elbow to elbow business, right? For as much as this is great, I'd much rather be in front of your class in person, right? And being able to sit there with you guys and chat and really be able to read your faces and what we call buying signals, right? When we're in a room with the client, it's easy to pick up on buying signals. It's a lot harder to do when we're doing it over a computer screen. And so for as much as I love digital marketing and kind of the way the industry is going, I'm really a proponent of doing it face to face. And so there's a little, purview into how we market and a really good question. And you may need to call me in about 10 years, young man, and we may have to talk about a job there. So good question.
That's excellent. Ms. Townsend, to be respectful of your time, this is the last question, all right?
Okay.
How long have you been a manager for?
How long have I been a manager for? Great question.
I think it was it married to your wife?
Oh,
Manager. I'm sorry.
so I've been married to my wife almost as long as I've been in banking. So there's that. But I've been a manager for about 6 years. So prior to joining New Mexico Bank and Trust, I managed a team at Bank of the West. And so I love managing, not because I like to be the boss, but because I love to see my people succeed, right? And that's where I get all the fulfillment. And I learned from my mentor, the best managers are the managers that give all the credit and take all the blame. And if I can do that every day for my team, I've done my job. But great question.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend's class, and Mr. Garcia. Andres, thank you so much. Following this presentation, Ms. Townsend's class, you will be sent a follow-up survey that we enter you into a drawing. And if you do the drawing, or if you do the survey, you'll be able to be entered into a drawing for a Twister's gift card. So make sure that you fill out that survey when you get it, and then you might win the gift card. And then this is our last speaker event of this school, or this calendar year. We'll be back in 2022, and we'll be back in February on February 9th when we come back after the holidays. So make sure you come back for that one. That we'll be having, hopefully Mario Burgos will be our speaker that day.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much for being on the call with us, and we will see you all on February 9th.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. Thank you, class. Great questions. I loved it.
Thank you,
guys have a great holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.